Well, we are here again with the live streaming. We are starting now session number 10 about bringing the community together. This is a very long session, but a very interesting one where we are going to show different tools, plans, etc. Produced by both the TInnGO and DIAMOND projects. And I am going to give the floor to Hilda Romer from the University of Copenhagen, who is the technical lead of the TInnGO project. Hilda, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Francisca. It's a pleasure to be the chair of this exciting session, where we will have a lot of speakers, as you can see. And this session is organized a bit differently from the former sessions, in the sense that we will have presentations in twins, so to speak. One speaker from TInnGO and one speaker from the Diamond Project on each topic. And I will present the speakers all along and start with the two first ones, who are going to focus on, the first cluster here will focus on the TInnGO Observatory and the Diamond Toolbox, self-assessment for service operators, and fairness and inclusivity. And speakers here are Clea Prieto, who works as a communication officer for LGI, where she leads communication activities for Horizon 2020 and a range of other interesting projects. She has over 5 years of experience in digital communication, having previously worked for an international association as a communication and events officer. And Clea has a degree in law and journalism from University of Carlos in Madrid, and also a degree in civil procedural law from another university, and a master in digital marketing. So Clea is well educated. And Minhea Tufis is the second speaker, and he is substituting. He has kindly agreed to substitute another speaker here. And Minhea Tufis is a data scientist and data science and data science and big data analytics group, connected, as far as I get it, to the EURECAT, who has had a key role here in the Diamond Project. Minhea Tufis is a data scientist, yes, and holds a joint data mining and knowledge management master from Polytechnic Nantes and Eastern Piedmont, Italy universities, and a PhD in computer science from the Sorbonne University Pierre and Marie Curie Center in Paris. His PhD research focused on using crowdsourcing to extract information from multimodal text and image media, the post-processing and analysis of collected data, and its storage in dedicated formats. And he also developed various other interesting things. And since joining EURECAT, he is involved in research and innovation projects. His main research is focused on how data value is connected to data quality and data exportability, and will result in the development of data evaluation platform. And he also participates in various other projects. We are looking forward to your presentations, and Clea, please, I think you are the first speaker. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Hilda. Just waiting to share my screen.
Yeah. Here we are, please.
Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. There we go. Sorry. Good morning, everyone. So I'm going to give a brief presentation on the TInnGO Observatory and also the Open Innovation Platform. So first of all, why did we decide to create a TInnGO European Observatory for Gender Smart Mobility? The thing is that there is a lot of existing knowledge in the field of gender smart mobility, but sometimes the knowledge and all the information is difficult to find. Also, there are quite a few observatories out there, but few of them provide interaction and co-design possibilities that enable people to engage really with the issues we need to solve. So this results in a difficulty to break down barriers in smart mobility and transport. So this is why we think we need a central place for all the materials related to gender and smart mobility to be able to create a sustainable change in the European transport sector. And that's what we want the European Observatory for Gender Smart Transport to become. What are the objectives of this TInnGO European Observatory for Gender Smart Mobility? We have quite a few. So first of all, we want to build a community around the topics of gender and transport. We also want to help stakeholders address local issues on gender and diversity. We want people that come to the observatory to use TInnGO materials and TInnGO tools to fight inequalities. We also want to provide them with national data to back research in the field. We also want to support local initiatives in gender smart mobility. We want to create, to co-create with key stakeholders and citizens gender-sensitive transport innovations. And of course, we also want to boost women's engagement in transport. So I'm gonna give an overview of different materials that are on the observatory. The first one is the gender and diversity action plans that were introduced in the session before. As you know, gender is something that creates inequalities in the transport sector, but there are other categories such as class, disability, and age that also play a crucial role. Which is why TInnGO has introduced the intersectional approach that also includes diversity in the gender action plans. As my colleagues explained before, so the TInnGO project has produced 11 gender and diversity action plans in different contexts. So here you can see the list of the countries. And you have two formats for these gender and diversity action plans. You have the policy briefs with more detailed information, but you also have explanatory short videos that have been done by hub leaders in which they explain how they implemented, they developed those gender and diversity action plans. We have also produced interviews with the experts in the gender and transport sector. So we are now uploading the last 3 ones, but all the others are already on the website. And these are interviews with experts in different European countries. So they have diverse backgrounds. And the idea of these interviews is to gather their knowledge and experience in the field. We have also created portraits of successful women in smart transport. So if you go to our website, you will see that we have 10 case studies of women that are employed in the transport and gender smart mobility sectors. And the idea here is to have information on the different barriers they encounter when working in the transport sector and how they overcome them and try to change them. And you can see that we are targeting 10 contexts. So UK, Germany, France, Sweden, Italy, Spain, Romania, Portugal, Latvia, and Greece. Sorry, that's sorry, it's not Latvia, it's Lithuania. We also have a page dedicated to initiatives on gender and transport. So as I said before, we really want to provide a one-stop shop platform for the topics of gender smart mobility. So we have created a page that is a sort of index of different projects and initiatives on the topic. You can go there and find different initiatives and projects related, and you can click on the links to find out more about them. So if you see a project or initiative that is not already there, you can let us know, and we will add it to this index page. We also have a list of TInnGO publications that have been done in the framework of the project. And we have as well a library of reports on gender and transport topics. These are reports that have been written by other organizations, but can be very useful for someone interested in the topic. And you have a tag system to find them, the topics that you're most interested in. We also have a blog that is very active. So we publish not only news related to the TInnGO project, but also news and events related to the topics of gender smart mobility. I really invite you to follow the blog. You can subscribe to a news feed, and you will get the latest articles directly in your inbox. In the framework of the TInnGO project, we have also created different tools. So here you have 3 of them. The first one is the Open Data Repository. So this is a repository for gender-related data collections in the transport sector. You can download data, but you can also contribute with your own data. There's also an incident reporting tool. So this is a sort of online map in which you can anonymously report any incidents, and they will show up in the map, which is a worldwide map. And the idea behind this is to then be able to create a safer public spaces for everyone. And finally, we also have a transport surveys platform where we can manage survey campaigns. And these tools are going to be presented more in detail by our colleague from SBOIN later this morning. So I invite you to follow that session for more information. And finally, the last thing I wanted to share with you is that we have built the TInnGO Open Innovation Platform. So this is a collaborative platform in which we try to bring together the 10 TInnGO national hubs that are spread across Europe with key stakeholders and also European citizens, so that they can talk to each other and address the challenges that we are facing in terms of gender and diversity in the transport sector. So the platform has 3 sections. The Ideas Lab 1, in which we try to co-create transport innovations. The second one is the discussion section, which is a sort of online forum in which you can launch discussions with the TInnGO community. And finally, the initiative section, where we try to showcase good practices that have been implemented in different European countries. So this is everything for us. I really want to encourage you to register to use the Open Innovation Platform and talk to the TInnGO community, and also to use the TInnGO resources and tools to fight inequalities in the transport sector. And finally, please subscribe to our news feed and of course, follow the TInnGO project on social media as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Clea, for a very vibrant introduction here to the TInnGO various platforms, and you really kept the time very, very precisely, 10 minutes. So I'll just go on and give the word to Min. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mr. Tufis, yes. And you will
can you see my screen?
The Diamond Toolbox of Self-Assessment for Service Operators on Fairness and Inclusivity. Please go ahead.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
First? Yeah.
But
and you can hear me well.
Make it
sure.
Bigger.
Okay, so I'm Minhea Tufis, and I will be substituting my colleague Luca Piras, who has prepared all this this nice presentation for you today, but unfortunately cannot speak for a few days. So very nice to meet you all and to talk to you this morning. I'm going to talk about the Toolkit for Fairness in the Diamond project. And as you can see from the title of the presentation, it will refer to the demonstration of the Toolkit for Fairness, and we're going to touch about the topics on the benefits and the potential impact of it. This is the outline of the presentation, so quick word on the motivation behind the project, then an overview of the toolkit. Then I'm going to show you briefly how the toolkit looks like. And then we're going to touch on the potential impact of this toolkit. The motivation is there are several perspectives from which determined us to work in this project, to start this initiative and develop this toolkit. First of all, there's the specific groups of citizens who have special mobility needs, and these are related to various aspects of diversity that you have already commented through the conference today, and one of them is including gender. Then from the mobility operator side, they also need to have a way to self-evaluate their level of inclusiveness and have a way to look at different factors, different parameters that influence the level of inclusiveness of these diverse groups of passengers that are using of users that are using their services, and then they need to take action towards a more inclusive service. So these are very largely the 3 points that are motivating the creation of this toolkit. As my colleague Clea was showing before, TInnGO is another initiative that deals with this kind of issues, and I think both projects, both TInnGO and we know that both TInnGO and Diamond are looking at gender inclusiveness in transport and are tackling problems related to gender inclusiveness. Probably from different perspectives, since TInnGO is looking at things from the perspective of the passengers and from the perspective of the diversity of the passengers, whereas Diamond, the effort of Diamond is to take a look at the same problem, but from the side of the operator, and at the problems that the operator can deal with to improve the situation of the passengers. Quick overview of the platform. As I was saying, we're looking from the perspective of the mobility operator who interacts with the platform, with the Toolkit for Fairness, which in turn is able to, after applying a series of algorithms, is able to produce inclusiveness scores, recommendations, and factor correlations, which, if taken into account by the operator and turned into actions, can lead to improving the inclusiveness in the service that they are offering. Who is this toolkit for? Well, it's for all stakeholders all stakeholders who are offering transportation services. So this can be transport operators, can be transport planners, businesses in the mobility as a service sector, and of course public administrations. Now let's take a quick look at the demonstration. I've selected a few screens from the Toolkit for Fairness that we have preparing. we have been preparing. As you can see, first of all, we are dealing with 4 use cases. So first of all, the metro and railway systems, then vehicle sharing services, autonomous vehicles, and finally employability in the transport sector. So what a mobility operator would do first would select the use case in which they find themselves in, at the moment, and then, as I was mentioning before, on the topic of diversity, we have created several filters. Actually, there's one missing in this screenshot, but not a problem. So we have created 5 filters. One with respect to environment, another one to age, gender, discrimination, and what we are calling illness or discapacity. So these are selections that a mobility operator can take, such that they are choosing a targeted profile on which to perform the rest of the analysis. Then the mobile transport operator is guided to an evaluation, a self-assessment questionnaire, which is an evaluation of their own service with respect to the segmented profiles. So they need to answer a set of questions with respect to their service, which will then be continuously processed in the toolkit. In terms of results, well, first of all, they are receiving a global score, which is incorporating, so this is a very high level score, it's incorporating it's aggregating rather all the factors that are contributing to these fairness characteristics that we are using, that are contributing to this score, such that they can have a more general view of where they are sitting. And then they can start drilling down in this under this score, so they can look at factor-specific scores. So this is still high level, but it's one level more concrete than what we've seen in the general score before. So they can look at the capacity to meet required needs, at accessibility, at safety and security, and get a score for each of them. Whereas this axis over here on the horizontal axis, they can translate this score into something more actionable, let's say. Then they get a set of drilling even further. They get a set of recommendations based on the answers that they have given, and different algorithms that we have. I'm going to briefly mention in a second. We generate a set of recommendations that they can take into account to improve inclusiveness in their service. And even further, we have an inference engine that is able to pick let's say the pain points, the factors that should be addressed by a mobility operator, and look at the other factors that are influencing these factors, that have the most influence of these factors, such that they know how they organize their interventions. Okay, now quick look under the hood. Not going to go too technical over here. So this is a very general overview of the schema of the whole system that we have over here. So the whole evaluation process is data driven, and we are relying on data that has been collected through satisfaction surveys and through various surveys on the field and online, plus the satisfaction surveys and the user and the self-assessment questionnaire that you have seen. So these things are informing 2 different types of processes: an analytic hierarchy process that you've seen over here, and that is able to estimate the relevance of each factor for the selected segments. And then we have a Bayesian network, which is able to detect correlations between the different fairness characteristics, and this feeds into the scores, the recommendations, and the inference engine that you've seen, that I briefly showed you before. Okay, now in terms of potential impact, there are three main areas where there are potential impacts for the fairness toolkit. In terms of social impact, we're seeking to improve the diversity-related, including gender-related aspects of mobility. We know that the European Union has several initiatives in this respect and is leading the way to a more inclusive society. And I think the Diamond project and the deployment of such a toolkit can really help with this and can be extended to other diversity-related areas such as sexual diversity, sexual orientation, nationalities, things like this. Then in terms of economical impact, the results of this can be exploited by consultancy companies, first in the transportation sector, but the results can be generalized to other sectors, and there is a technological transfer that has to be taken into account over here. The potential for a technological transfer that can be taken into account over here. And then from a scientific standpoint, these are valuable contributions to the fields of decision support systems and can advance the state of the art in this field. This is just to briefly mention the most obvious ones.
I'm sorry to say your time is out,
yeah.
And now you are there. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
And for this also very interesting presentation, I'm sure that we will return back to issues of both of these, both of Clea's and your representation presentations here. But now I would like to welcome the two next speakers, twin speakers.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
We are going to launch one question to the audience, a kind of very quick survey, so they can answer these questions and give us their feedback.
Okay. You are going to run that now.
It's just one question.
Yeah. Okay.
We are launching it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, we don't vote. Okay.
A third of the audience has already sent their answer, so let's wait a bit more, some seconds. We invite you to give us your feedback. We are almost reaching 50% of the audience. So once we reach 50%, we will end this survey. Okay, here we have the result of the survey. About 50% of the respondents have considered that this is useful in a scale of between 4 and 5 in a scale from 1 to 5. And only 14% of the audience have considered that they are not very, very useful. So we will continue working to combine two and to improve these tools for you to find them really useful and to apply them in your work. Hilda, I let you continue with the session.
Yeah, thank you so much. Interesting, Paul. Yeah, the second topic to be addressed in this session is hubs as beacons of engagement in TInnGO and DIAMOND, corporate social responsibilities, protocols, and white papers. And speakers here are Francisco. We use the first name, right? Francisco,
exactly,
from
yes.
the AITEC, and then Cathleen Schöne from the TInnGO project. And I don't know how much I will present you. Francisco is a naval engineer with a PhD in transport infrastructures and transport systems, CTO and founder of AITEC, assessor and consultant and researcher in the transport sector for more than 20 years, currently working on inclusion and CSR, corporate social responsibility protocols in the transport sector. And Cathleen Schöne is from the Technische Universität Ilmenau and part of the TInnGO project. She is a researcher at the Institute for Media Technology at Ilmenau University of Technology in Germany. And since 2018, her research has focused on the user-centered development and design of services and user interfaces systems. And she has been involved in the TInnGO project and also in various other mobility projects. Cathleen, she obtained her master degrees, RTM degree in communication and media studies at the University of Leipzig. So I will give the word to Francisco as the first speaker, please.
Yes. Well, no, I think it's Cathleen. Kathleen.
No, it's Cathleen. Okay.
I'm the first one.
Both of you are here, but welcome. Yeah.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Hilda. I'm just trying to share my slide and hope that will work perfectly. Hope so. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, then we'll go in presentation mode and then it should be perfect. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the introduction. As Hilda mentioned, we're going to talk about hubs as beacons of engagement in TInnGO, and later on DIAMOND corporate social responsibility protocols and white paper. As Francisco just mentioned, I'm going to start first with the topics hubs as beacons of engagement in TInnGO. So first of all, just a really short recap on what's the TInnGO project all about. It's about developing a framework and mechanism for sustainable game change in European transport by using the transformative strategy of gender and diversity sensitive smart mobility. We're addressing gender-related contemporary challenges in the transport ecosystem and women's mobility needs. And finally, hopefully, creating a route for gender-sensitive smart mobility in European transport, which considers the diversity of user groups. In the scope of the project, we're working in 10 national hubs. The hubs are all about extracting and preparing nationally and internationally available knowledge in the field of mobility, gender, and diversity. We developed a user-centered information platform on which the prepared knowledge, tools, practical examples are made available to a broad group of users. That's what Clea just explained to you. It's our observatory. Together, we are working with regional stakeholders to understand their context, their tasks and goals, and interest with regard to gender smart mobility, and increase their capacity to act through the transfer of knowledge and training materials. And last but not least, we're developing concrete solutions together with the stakeholders and testing them. You heard a lot about stakeholders, what we're doing with them, who are these stakeholders. So they are present in different selected cities all over Europe. The collaboration with the stakeholders covers various activities aiming institutional and public engagement to develop gender smart mobility that will lead to visible and sustainable change in local practice. On the right side, you see some of these stakeholder groups, just briefly mentioned: public transport operators, mobility consultants, we as academics, local decision makers, and many more. But what do we mean when we talk about collaboration with stakeholders? Here do you see the 10 TInnGO hubs all over Europe. Our Scandinavian hub, it's parted in the Danish and the Swedish hub. Denmark is coping with the issues on planning bicycle training for ethnic minorities, for example. The Swedish hub deals with the topic, can bike sharing contribute to transport justice? Then we go further to the Baltic hub. It's all about gender balance in STEM. What is it and what could be done? The Romanian hub, located in Albania, is dealing with the topic gender equality and women's empowerment and transport from theory to practice. Our Greek hub is all about public transport in Thessaloniki metropolitan area, dealing with the issues on safety and security or comfort and customer service. The Italian hub in Torino deals with sustainable urban mobility plans as a gender and diversity issue. We as a German hub focusing on gender and diversity sensitive participation culture in the mobility planning process. And further on, the Spanish hub is dealing with internal job promotion processes with a gender perspective. The Portuguese hub is also about smart biking, which we just already seen in the Scandinavian hub. The Paris hub, or the French hub, sorry, is promoting activities towards inclusive mobility in the Paris region. And last but not least, our United Kingdom hub is working with mobility providers to achieve gender and diversity smart mobility solutions. If you want to get more details, more information on these collaborations with the stakeholders, on the activities and that they're carrying out, please feel free to go on the observatory and have a look at the policy briefs, at the gender and diversity action plans. There you have much more information, much more details. What's happening with all the collaboration, with the results, with the experience from our TInnGO project? We as the hubs, we provide these methods, approaches, data and materials and many more to inform, explore, share and replicate and to follow up on. Of course, we also provide via the platform the exchange, collaboration, engagement and learning from each other to promote gender smart mobility in the transport ecosystem. On the left side, you see some examples for methods and tools. So here we talk about our mentioned gender and diversity action plans, the gender smart indicators, but also different TInnGO reports and deliverables and many more. Also some good practices you can find on the platform. There you have information on initiatives. You will find a lot of interviews there with female entrepreneurs or leading employers in the transport sector. And so you have their exchange of knowledge, experience and information and many more. Other materials that you find are training material. So from our experiences with the hub work, we have different training modules here, also with all the methodology work in the project itself. So you, for example, can find modules on evaluation and many more. And last but not least, our work as hubs and as the project also delivers a lot of data. So you find our data on the repository, on the TInnGO repository, for example, from our TInnGO survey with 4,000 participants, 400 from each hub, from each country, and all about mobility and gender. So feel free to go on our website, on our observatory and the repository to get more information on everything that I just mentioned, but also on, for example, design ideas, co-creations and discussions. So that's all from my side, and I would just hand over to Francisco. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kathleen. And thanks, Hilda, for your nice introduction. Kathleen, you pass the slides, okay? when I say. Good morning, I am Francisco, the technical coordinator of DIAMOND. In this part of the presentation, we are going to introduce the corporate social responsibility protocols as defined by the DIAMOND project. Next, Cathleen. Okay, this is the list of top 10 factors influencing the fairness in the employment today for women. A weighted hierarchy was defined by applying the analytic hierarchic process and a Bayesian network analysis to data collected through preferences surveys, with 87 respondents and satisfaction surveys with 233 respondents. The two topics in red show it to be extremely important for women in the framework employment today. Opportunities to change shift or reduce working times, especially for those with small children, and employment opportunities should be advertised widely and all applications welcome. Next, Cathleen, please. At least one recommendation was generated and validated per each top 10 factor. Recommendations were generated by three sources: workshops with external experts, the interdisciplinary panel of the DIAMOND project, and members of the association WAVE. And finally, these recommendations were validated through surveys by at least 5 experts and with more than 80% of positive votes. Next. These recommendations were classified in 3 categories. Category 1, with recommendations that make women love the transport sector to work in. Category 2, with recommendations that make easier for the transport companies to access all kinds of public to cover job positions. And category 3, with recommendations influencing on the fairness in the employment of the transport sector, acting on both employee and employer in a mid and long term. The next, please. These recommendations were then prioritized from 2 points of view. From the point of view of the relevance of the top 10 factor addressed by this recommendation, and from the point of view of the impact on all the top 10 factors. According to the first criterion, the most priority recommendations will be those addressing the top 10 factors with the highest weight in the weighted hierarchy. Regarding the second criterion, the implementation of each recommendation was simulated by Bayesian networks, and recommendations were prioritized according to their impact on the satisfaction of all the top 10 factors. Next, please. About recommendations in category 1, from the point of view of the relevance of the top 10 factor which is being addressed, the most priority recommendation will be to provide options for working from home, teleworking, or remote working. And from the point of view of the impact on all the top 10 factors, the most priority recommendations was exactly the same. Next, please. About recommendations in category 2, from the point of view of the relevance of the top 10 factor which is being addressed, the most priority recommendations were gender-neutral employment advertisement, fair progress flexibility with women in the maternity period to avoid glass ceilings in the professional development process, equity plans going beyond legal statements, and all roles or vacancies are open and available for both men and women. And from the point of view of the impact on all the top 10 factors, the most priority recommendation is a fair progress flexibility with women in the maternity period to avoid glass ceilings in their professional development process. Next, please. About recommendations in the category 3, from the point of view of the relevance of the top 10 factor which is being addressed, the most priority recommendation is unequal access for all employees to training and development opportunities for general upskilling, transferring roles and flexibility of training delivery. And from the point of view of the impact on all the top 10 factors, the most priority recommendations was the same, was exactly the same. The next. The DIAMOND project did a foresight to the future and to the off-site job positions about fairness in the employment for women. About the future, preference surveys were also raised to respondents in the scenario of a logistic based on drones. And no significant differences in the top 10 factors influencing the fairness in the employment were found regarding the top 10 factors in the current framework. About off-site job positions, an additional analysis filtering data for women working in off-site job positions in the transport sector was carried out with 8 respondents in total. The top 10 factors with the highest weight was security staff available to intervene in case of need. And the recommendation that was generated and validated to address this topic was human resources support for post-harassment trauma. The next. And now I leave the floor to my colleague Ajeni from Dublin, who will present the white paper generated by the DIAMOND project. Thanks very much.
Are you there?
Ajeni, please.
Hello.
Francis, has Ajeni access, or is she even in the participant list? I haven't checked. Yeah, she's in the participant list.
See? Yeah? Cathleen?
Ajeni? Yes, it's Ajeni that we're looking for. Ajeni Thimnu, first one in the list. She needs access to share or to be seen.
Yeah.
To be heard.
Yeah, she is not on the list, but
Yeah, she is on the list.
but
Oh, she was
she is
some
not
minutes ago.
online,
Can you hear me
but
now?
she can introduce herself.
Ajeni? Did you just
Yes,
said
I
something?
can.
Ah, perfect.
Yeah, I can. Pardon me. I was trying to send a message for
Could you
and I couldn't
introduce
unmute
yourself?
myself as well.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll just proceed. Share my cam.
And,
So pardon me.
please beware of the time now.
No problem. I'm just going to rush through this. No problem at all. So while Cathleen is sharing the slides for myself, I will just begin with the presentation. Okay. So Cathleen, are you going to share the slides, please?
Yes, I thought I was.
Oh, sorry, I can't see it on my end.
No, for instance, I guess she. Yeah, just give me a second.
No problem. Cheers.
So
Yeah.
you should see it now, and now it's presentation mode. Okay.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Sorry about this. Okay, yeah, I can see it now. Okay, so hi. So pardon for the delay, everyone. So my name is Ajeni Thimnu. I'm actually a researcher on the DIAMOND project. And I'll be talking on the white paper, which is a conclusion of the DIAMOND project titled Addressing Gender-Specific Needs in Europe's Current and Future Transport System. The white paper would be is a collection of DIAMOND's gatherings on findings and recommendations. So the white paper is a collection of gatherings and findings and recommendations that are applied in the confines of the public transport, autonomous vehicles, bike sharing, and women as employees in the public transport industries. The considerations include the key issues and actions in line with fair and inclusive practices. Next slide, please. This slide informs on the pillar within which a DIAMOND project is retrieved, with questions including the factors affecting women's travel choice, how these factors discriminate different modalities, and how different job characteristics or contextual factors in transport affect gender balance or female employability. And then lastly, it was touching upon the factors influencing the career choices for women in different groups and area in relation to work in transport. Next slide. With the next slide, we're looking onto to note before going into the key findings that the key factors affecting travel choices were seen to include the likes of safety and security, the frequency and operational hours, the links to facilities and autonomous vehicles simultaneity, and trust in technology. With that on the page we're currently looking at, we see the key findings that are relevant, how these key findings affect modalities. And number one, this is for that of public transport users. And among others, we see the likes of adequate personal space being mentioned, layout of seating, the walking time from point A to B, so station to point of interest, intermodal options, connections and integrations of alternative shared mobility modes, safety and harassment reporting points, visibility of the surrounding area, appropriate services and facilities within the transport infrastructure, and lastly, reliability of service modes in terms of time, price, and security. Next slide, please. With that of autonomous vehicles, we also see the likes of perceptions of the modes and the impact on building sustainable society. We see the matters of interactions being mentioned. We see importance of controlling speed of the vehicles. We also see matters relating to comfort, that is being able to perform simultaneous tasks while driving the vehicles and in a comfortable environment. We see the likes of trust of technology being prompted, as where we see importance of transmit of potential users to feel safe when driving in bad conditions, etc. As well as lastly, the well-beings of others, plus matters of health being linked to people's feelings, especially when they are driving without steering wheels. Next slide, please. With that, with the factors affecting women's travel choice of bicycle sharing, we see the need for campaign awareness, facilities and docking stations or facilities being inadequate or unsafe when cycling. We see the need for safety and security, the lowering of speeds of other vehicles that have been shared. We see the need for bikes with children's seats and trailers for carrying kids or cargo bike. And we see the need for also weather cycling friendly infrastructures amongst the many. Moving on to my next slide. Touching upon the factors affecting career choices for women in different groups and areas in relation to work in transport. And amongst the many, we see job segregation. We see the likes of demand factors, especially in line with recruitment and retainment. We see policy and legal to do with employment policies. We see facilities, there's training and promotions in HR policies, terms and conditions to do with equal pay, shift patterns, etc. We see safety and security measures where we're looking into personal protection, PPEs, etc. The need for caring and parental responsibilities, measures to enhance job hiring, and adequate training modules as needed. With the diagram on the right, this is in line with in order to gain a more diverse workforce within the gender or female employability. In descending order, we see gender equality and communication policies. We also see gender pay equality, and lastly, we see gender equality, gender in promotion and recruitment. And on to my next slide, please.
I hope you can wind up now because your time is out. I'm sorry to say.
No problem.
Sorry.
Okay. No problem at all. So among others, with the recommendations, we see that of public transport where there's need for facilities like improvements of seatings, improvement of security for personnel, the coordinations of timetable, the increasing of visibility in the area. With that of autonomous vehicles, we see the need for interaction between passengers and the vehicles themselves, the design of the interior of the vehicles, as well as workload and configurations. We also see the need for automated systems that could enable or control speed and allow comfortability. And onto the next slide, which would be my last, we see that of bike sharing, which was talking about well-functioned and safe, visible lights and brakes being available for bike, availability of electric bike and docking stations, cycling routes to avoid high-speed roads, and lastly, women as employees, where there was need for flexibility for women, especially in line with maternity periods, gender-neutral employability advertisements, and then lastly, we see on the other hand, there was a need for promotion of awareness, especially when it came to options of teleworking options. And that's all
Sorry,
so
yeah.
I'm done. So that's all I have
Thanks
to
a
say
lot.
for today.
Thanks a lot. And I'm sorry to push you, but we are running 10 minutes late already, which is not your fault, but thanks a lot.
No problem.
And we will make a quick leap into the third topic in this session, which is the open data collection and the repository. And it is with Fotis Lietopoulos from TInnGO and Andrea Gorini from the DIAMOND as speakers. And while we are getting, Fotis is getting ready, I will introduce them. Welcome, Fotis. Fotis is a computer and informatics engineer with a PhD degree from the University of Wisconsin-Madison in the US. He has served as a research academic computer technology institute and has taught at City College affiliated with University of Sheffield and also at University of Thessaloniki. And you have, Fotis has also been participating in many very interesting and path-breaking concepts or projects, and I will. We are looking forward to a presentation here. And this twin presentation is done with Andrea Gorini from the Systematica and connected to the DIAMOND project. And Dr. Andrea Gorini is an environmental psychologist with experiences in human behavior in transport systems. And since 2019, he collaborates with Systematica as transport research consultant, as a research consultant. He is currently involved in the Horizon DIAMOND project aimed at, and we all know what it is. We are looking forward to your presentations. And I see that Fotis is now ready to start. Please go ahead, Fotis.
Thank you, Hilda. I'm Fotis Lietopoulos, General Manager of Boeing, the Technical Coordinator of TInnGO. I hope you see my presentation now.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. So let me just start. So basically, the definition of, I'm going to give the first part of this presentation, and then Andrea will follow. I'm going to give the TInnGO perception point of view, and then Andrea will give the point of view of the DIAMOND project regarding the open data and open data repositories. So according to the open definition organization, open data is data that can be freely used, reused, and redistributed by anyone, subject only at most to the requirement to attribute and share alike. So what we usually say is that we use the acronym FAIR for the properties that the open data must adhere to, which stand for findability, accessibility, interoperability, and reusability. And these properties have to do with the metadata and documentation that is associated with the data that are public, standard identification, different formats, search engines that they're advertised in, open data repositories and registries, and also apps, open tools, and open software that they can be used with, and also very important, the IPR and the licensing, which have to be not very strict. There are a number of open data repositories, or open access repositories, they are also called, and there are also registries which are directories of such repositories. For the TInnGO project, our open data repository has been registered with the RETRI data registry. The main principles behind the open data, at least the ones that the TInnGO open data repository adhere to, are the ORD, the Open Research Data Pilot, which is basically the requirement for Horizon 2020 project to have a data management plan, accompany all the data management throughout the project. The well-known General Data Protection Regulation, the GDPR, which is effective since 2018 and is about protecting the individual's privacy and private data, private information. And also the open access mandate, which is also a requirement for the Horizon 2020 project to have all the research publications, scientific publications, public, and provide open access to them. Some guidelines, standards, and services that can be used for developing or maintaining an open access data repository are listed here in this slide. We in TInnGO, we have used the UK reshare example, which can be found through this link up here, and also the specifications and guidelines specified from by the Open Air organization. The service protocols can also be used for more standardized accessing through, for example, the Open Archives Initiative Protocol for metadata harvesting, available through these links. Standardization for the identification of the shared data collections is provided through the digital object identifiers, for short we call them DOIs, and persistent identifiers, for short called PIs. DOIs and PIs are provided by different organizations. For example, DOIs from DataSites and PIs from EPIC. In our implementation, we have used the PI service. Licenses are also defined in the open definition, Open Data Commons, and the well-known Creative Commons provide also licenses for open data. Different types and formats can be used, and some of them are recommended, some of them are accessible. This is the list of such data types as listed, as provided by the UK Data Service from that link. It's about data, tabular data, geospatial data, textual, image, audio, video, documentation, and scripts. This is a very brief description now of the open data repository that we have developed and we're maintaining for the TInnGO project. It's available through this link, but also from the project link tingo.eu or the observatory's website. I'll show the link later on, transport-observatory.eu. So this is the central link of the TInnGO toolbox. One of the links here is the open data repository. There are 3 access points, one for visitors, this is free access, another one for contributors, this is access with credentials that we provide, and also there is an API access for automated accessing in real time. The Open Data Repository of TInnGO has been registered in 2020, since 2020 in the RETRI data, which is the Pan-European Registry of Research Data Repositories. This is a list of brief list of its features. It's open access. It contains rich metadata, an embedded search engine, a variety of licenses available, legal terms clearly defined, protecting the individual's privacy and the GDPR compliance. It consists of it supports persistent identifiers, the PIs that I mentioned earlier. It's GDPR compliant. Security is ensured with antivirus checking of the uploaded web collections. Raw data can be uploaded with up to 20 files of 100 megabytes each per upload. The files can be zip files, RAR, text, or PDFs. It's a moderated repository with quality assurance framework implemented, supporting self-checking of the data collections that are uploaded, the visitors' feedback, and star ratings. This is an example of how a visitor views the repository. It has a search panel on the left with free text search based on keywords, data types, country, and so on. You get the grid list, you click on it, and you visit the data collection. You can download the files. You can also provide an evaluation with a rating, a star rating, and some comments, perhaps with feedback to the contributor. Contributing is a second way of accessing the Open Data Repository. It's a 5-step process where you provide information about the people, the creators, the contributors, and their affiliations and contact info. Data collection is the second part. It contains information, metadata, descriptions, titles, geo-location and time definition, description of the data collection. So all the information, including also licensing types, language. It's a rich metadata content that accompanies the data collection. The third part is the actual data, the data files that are uploaded. There is a review session where you can post your own review and star rating or view other reviews. The moderation status, as you can see here, is only visible by the supervisor.
I need to ask you, or I will kindly ask you to wind up. Your time is out, I'm sorry to say.
Okay, so this is the third option about managing the Open Data Repository, about moderating it, editing it, setting up users. The tools of, I also like to present two tools, just one slide each, very briefly. So this is the incident reporting tool where anybody globally on the global map can report anonymously incidents, and there is a moderation also provided. The other tool is the dynamic transport surveys, which is a platform that supports transport-oriented vertical surveys. There is a web interface, a web application for data entry, and there is also a smartphone application for responding to questionnaires regarding transport issues. This is in 13 languages and has also a management platform where someone, provider, can manage the survey campaigns. Topics for discussions, if you want. This is the last slide. Thank you for your patience. This is about questions about why are people in organization reluctant to share their data, and here's some answers. I mean, we can discuss this later in the panel discussion session, and what's going to be the next day regarding these tools. Also some questions that have been asked in other panels as well. Thank you for your patience, and thank you, Hilda.
Thanks a lot, Fotis. I'm sorry to push you, and we will hurry up and go to the next and final speaker, who will also have allocated 10 minutes. And afterwards, I will suggest that we exceed the session perhaps by 5 minutes so that we can have some questions, because we are really running late now. Okay, please go ahead, Andrea.
Yep, let me share my screen. Can you confirm you can see the presentation and not the GoToMeeting dashboard?
We can see you and the presentation.
Okay, not the interface of the GoToMeeting, right?
No, the interface, Andrea, no the interface.
Okay, perfect. So I try to be very, very briefly. I see we are very late considering the timeline of the program, and I want to let's say I will show you some of the results and the methodology of the DIAMOND project for collecting data. Systematica was responsible for the work package dedicated to the data collection phase, which was not easy to be performed. But side of giving you some, also to consider the time limit, side of giving you some detailed information about the, let's say, the repository itself, I would like to stress like a 3-steps process for the data collection of both the project, I think, both for DIAMOND and TInnGO. So let's say first, the data collection was not easy. And the starting from scratch, I mean, it was difficult. I mean, there were several relevant contributions already available, but I think that the main contribution of both the project, TInnGO and DIAMOND, is to has built up a theoretical framework for further data collection. So if I think, for example, at the very first data collection phase, which was based on the literature review. So now we have a theoretical framework which could guide future research for an upcoming research project about the needs and expectation of women in transport systems. So first let's say now we have a framework, and I can show you, we skip part of the slide, but I want to, so this is the general methodology of DIAMOND for collecting data. And as you can see, we start from a very qualitative, let's say, research approach, combining literature review again and focus group to define the fairness characteristics. This is the core of the DIAMOND project. So now we have as open source, fully available, a paper which draft the entire, let's say, the entire system of needs of women as users of public transport and workers in the transport system. And then we combine very different approaches for collecting data, both quantitative and qualitative. And as a result, we have built up our own database, which will feed the database of TInnGO for sure. And above all, let's say the data repository shown by Fotis, I really appreciated the previous presentation by him, both in terms like the results of the project, but also like the policy and let's say the GDPR compliant rules we follow during the data collection phase. So the data repository of TInnGO and the toolbox of DIAMOND represent the second step, let's say the intermediate step. So now we produce data through these two projects, and we are going to continue somehow data collection, for example, through the DIAMOND toolbox, which is meant to, from one hand, to support the activity of transport operator through the use of the toolbox as a self-assessment system, but also as a tool for collecting data beyond the end of the project itself. And So I want to skip to the very last slide, which I think is the third and last step, let's say, of the workflow. So we start from scratch. Let's say, I mean, the lack of information regarding the needs of women, I think, is part of the bias regarding this topic. And so we produce data. We produce also a theoretical framework to collect data in a structured manner, and we confront themselves on both different kind of methodology and hypotheses regarding the research. Now we are able to call for, I mean, to call for action for the European Commission. So in this last slide, you can see the guideline, a recent report from the European Data Portal, which define, for example, the dimension and metrics regarding the open data, which are becoming more and more available in the EU. And in the right side of the slide, you can see some of the most important repository from the European Commission of open data. And so now I think also thanks to one of our last revision meeting, let's say our reviewer of the Diamond project suggests us to get in touch, for example, with Eurostat. So the point here is to suggest them how to collect data to be let's say, more focused about the needs of women. And the core idea here is that the originality of the project was based on intersectional analysis. So now we are ready to ask for more detailed data directly, open one, and directly from the public institution in Europe. And as a very last information, I suggest you all, if interested about this topic, to attend the European Open Data Days, which is an upcoming conference, truly interesting. And I thank you for your attention.
Thanks to you, Andrea, also for shortening, I think, your presentation. And I really think that you raised very vital questions here at the end about, I mean, what to do with all the findings and guidelines and new methodologies. I imagine that we would have all the speakers on the screen now, so that we can have a 5 or 7 minutes question and answer session. I regret that the time is so limited, and I hope that questions can be asked and posted also on the chat or more directly to the speakers. So I don't see, please feel free we invite questions and comments from the participants now. Please write on the chat. And while people are putting themselves together and asking questions, I could also start asking and taking issue of what Andreas said about, I mean, about the ideas of how to convey all these findings and results to, for example, the European Union or to local authorities. I mean, we have been presented for a lot of guidelines, a lot of good ideas. Some of them are also overarching. I mean, the same ideas comes up as a result of quantitative methodology and also of qualitative methodologies. So I just wonder whether you have any considerations of how to bring these results further out to various municipalities, or how to work with them. Would anybody join in?
Well, if you let me to start with commenting this idea, I think that the solution to this concern that you have raised is to work in a sustainability plan to continue with the work the day after the end of the project from both sides, from TInnGO and from DIAMOND. We have analyzed the same concept sometimes from two different perspectives. We have analyzed different concepts, one from DIAMOND and another from TInnGO, and we must put all together and see how all this knowledge can be brought to the real life of the citizens in order to do actionable all this hard work that we have done. This must be addressed by working in a nice sustainability plan or long-term plan after the end of the project. This is my point.
Yeah. Any other comments? I don't see anything on the chat right now. Yeah, I think you are right, Francisco, but we also know that the projects, they will come to an end very shortly, and we also know that then people have other projects, and it's not so easy to continue things. I would take the opportunity also to mention that in the TInnGO project, we have worked up a TInnGO Gender Smart Mobility Charter. And when listening to the white paper from the DIAMOND, I think that the charter and what you presented in the white paper could be somehow merged or connected, because what we have been focusing on is more how to commit municipalities, research committees, European unions to continue what we have started here. And to work on these issues and to work up GADAP plans, etc., etc. I don't have the charter here, but perhaps we can take a look at it at the closing session today. And also, Andrea, when you talk about approaching the Eurostat, I know from statistical the transport survey people here in Denmark that they have tried time and again, to widen the perspective, to put in, walking and biking and all that. And it's not so easy, really. So I think if we can join forces here, there might be a possibility for change.
Yeah, and if I could add like very short comment on this, I mean, it's not easy. But I truly believe that we could also approach like United Nations Women Committee. And if it's true, and I think it is, that the European Commission funds research projects in the region, in the European region, to also to teach us to collaborate among different countries. It's one of the objectives of an H2020 project to go ahead and to somehow to transfer and disseminate the results of the project above the border of the region. So I think in parallel, we could require our public authorities to act now, even though it's not easy, but also to transfer to different regions of the world the results of the project.
Hilda,
right. Sorry.
Also, I would like to say on behalf of SBOING, I mentioned it before as well, that SBOING is committed to maintaining and managing the project outcomes, I mean the tools and the open data repository beyond the end of the project for as long as necessary. So both at the level of providing hardware support infrastructure, I mean, and management, and as well as moderation where necessary.
That's good news. Absolutely. Yeah. Anything else? I think we have been also addressing a variety of issues here, and sorry that we end up with perhaps addressing the last speaker's issues more than in the beginning. But I think I will, since there are nobody in the chat now, I think I would thank you for your invigorating presentations here. And we'll see you in 10 minutes time for the second part of the session. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.